So, Happy New Year 2024 and welcome to our 130th episode. This is the second in the series of season 3 and first of 2024. I really remember wanting to have had a conversation with the guest of today, Kanchana, for a very long time. As soon as she had launched her book, the fourth book, wonderful book, around a few months back. But for some reason or the other, we could not just get together. And I'm so happy to be hooked up with her today. So briefly introducing Kanchana, she's the author of 4 books. She's totally passionate about writing, reading, professional writing. She guides other authors. Plus, she's into author conversations and also shortly getting into podcasting. Kanchana, welcome you to our forum. And I must tell you that, I was really caught up by Vishal Bhardwaj's lines on your book, which said that it's a riveting page turner that will have its readers hooked right to its jaw-dropping finale. And I must tell everyone, I totally agree with him. I couldn't put this book down until I find you. And welcome, Kanchana, once again on our forum. So good to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Neeta. And, so wonderful to begin the new year, 2024, with the much discussed and long discussed session with you. As you rightly said, we've been talking about it, but something or the other always got in the way. And I'm so glad that I'm kicking off the new year with a conversation with you and about my recent book, Until I Find You, which of course is very close to my heart. So thank you once again for having me here.
No, I must congratulate you. I mean, the book has been doing so well. I've been reading such great comments and reviews about the book on the media. And so we'll begin by asking you, what is your book all about? I know all about it right from the first word till the end, but coming from you and for the readers who are going to finally read your book on my channel, and what really inspired you to write this book. So please, the floor is yours.
Okay. So a little bit of a background about this book. I'm very fond of surfing the net and reading about old cases, old unsolved cases, and curious old cases in the world over and in India. So long before I started writing this book, I began writing this book in 2020, early 2020.
Yeah.
So long before that, I had come upon an article about the cult in USA called the People's Temple. And this was a cult founded by a very evil, cunning man called Jim Jones in about mid-1960s in USA. If anyone does a Google search about Jim Jones and People's Temple, they will know that, this cult was extremely influential in that time in USA, kind of influencing politics and a whole lot of other things. And in 1974, Jim Jones and about 300, 400 members of the cult People's Temple, all of them committed suicide by drinking a fruit drink laced by cyanide. And there was a reason why all this happened, but I won't go into that detail, why they did what they did. But all of them committed that, that typical cult mass suicide. So when I read this, and a thought triggered in my head that, such a cunning, shrewd, and manipulative cult leader like Jim Jones, did he really kill himself? I can understand him killing all of them, all of the entire cult. But did he really kill himself? And what if, he just staged his death and he escaped and ran away? Because there were a lot of reasons to kind of, for him to want to run away from the entire mess. So, does a cunning man like that really kill himself? And, what if there is, one survivor who did not die in that mass suicide? What if that one lone survivor also escaped? And what if that happens to be a young woman with a lot of other baggage and a lot of other history? And what if she, tries to hunt him down? So that is how that is the genesis of the story. And of course, Until I Find You is not based in USA or in 1970s. It is very much based in the India of today, contemporary time. And then, and then sometime around, I think 2018, I had gone to Shekhawati with my husband. And we had gone to this small little village called Mandava. So the moment I stepped out of the car, onto the streets of Mandava, and, I began thinking that this is a place, this is a place where it would be ideal for anyone to come and hide. So when I was thinking about the story and wanting to write that, if a cult leader runs away from such a big crime that he has committed, where will he go and hide? Will he hide in a place like Gurgaon, Delhi, Bombay, or will he come to a nondescript, small, sleepy little town where nobody knows anything about cult and anything, and he can assume an alias and he can hide there. So that's how Banod is a fictional little village in Shekhawati,
Yeah.
like Mandava and other places that had gone. So things began to come together, and that's how the story started in
Well,
my head.
very sad. I mean, it's based in Rajasthan. I know the Shekhawati area. I can really relate to it, and you've really gone very deeply into it. And you're so right. You began writing, as I read, and you've also just mentioned, in 2019, and that COVID struck, and then you've been writing through.
Hmm.
I mean, it shows in the book that you've really done, a lot of good work in this and a lot of intense work.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have talked about how the story came about, but I mean, this is your fourth book. Are you contemplating writing a series too? Until I Find You, how's it going to be for you?
So, actually, Neeta, this is my fifth book. There is
Okay,
another small novella which I had written some way back in 1918, before Nobody's Child was published, because I was just getting very bored, and I wrote a small novella and I self-published it, and not many people know about it. It's on Kindle. I don't really promote that book much or talk about that book much. And many of my close friends, they keep on telling me that, why don't you talk about that little novella which you wrote? It's titled The Actor, and if you look it up on Amazon, and if you read the synopsis, you will be able to relate. That is also based on a very high profile case involving a Bollywood actor who
okay,
allegedly sexually assaulted his domestic help, and his entire Bollywood career went for a toss. I think
right, right.
you know who I'm talking
Yes,
about.
yes,
I
yes.
don't want to take his name, but
I,
yeah.
I
So
understand.
I've given a different spin to that entire story.
Okay,
And so Until I Find You, technically speaking, is my fifth book.
okay.
So it's, yeah. So and to let's so what was your question? Am I planning a sequel to this book?
Yes.
No, I'm not planning a sequel to this book. No,
Okay.
I'm not. I don't really kind of. I've never really thought about writing a sequel. While my editor and a lot of readers have told me that even Nobody's Child, deserves to have a sequel. Even I On You can have a sequel, because I like to end my books with an open ending.
Hmm.
I like to tease the reader
Yes.
with endless possibilities of what can happen, what could happen, what may have happened. So that's why a lot of readers come back and tell me that, write a sequel, but I've not really thought about it.
And I'm very excited in case if this gets picked up by a OTT series or something, because every page, every word in this book, it leads you to another story, it leads you to another sequence, and that is what really keeps you, and that's why it's so gripping. There were so
Mhm.
many characters in the book. I mean, if I start naming, I think there are so many: Virat, Jenny, Harsh, Subha, so many of them. And I mean, maybe that's what it keeps it ticking. You maybe when you turn a page, you maybe think that, okay, this is how it is going to be, and the next you give the
Mm.
kind of the name of the person right in the middle of this, and then later on we come to know there's more twist. I mean, the readers have to read
Mm.
it. I can't even give it away. It will take away the book from them. So how did you really manage this? How did you really put it together? I mean, make it so interesting. Was it like you used to wake up with a thought and then put it together? How was it happening for you?
So, Nita, like, I'm a meticulous planner. I guess
I can make that
part
up.
of it is because I'm a Virgo, so I like to plan. But other than that, like a thriller, in my opinion, other authors might look at it differently. But as a thriller author, in my opinion, I think a certain amount of planning is required, because you are casting a web. You're
Mhm.
casting a web of lies, deception, red herrings, and a crime that is being committed. You are creating a scenario. You're creating a path which the reader has to tread on, and sometimes you have to lead the reader, up the wrong alley. only to make them realize that, oh my God, this is not how it is should be, it's something else. So you need to have a certain amount of planning, that I will reveal this much about this character here and this much about them later. And this is where this is where the core problem will be revealed, or the pivotal moment will be pivotal. So so it has to be charted out. Uh, and if you don't do that, then, in my opinion, the story will either get lost, or it will, and of course, you have to do all this while keeping the story very taut and very tight. And there has to be a cliffhanger at the end of almost every chapter to make them, kind of flip the page and go to the next. So, a lot of planning, a lot of mind mapping. So I use mind mapping tools, and I think about the characters that I am. So I do detailed character sketches, and in the character sketches that I do, everything is not used in the story, but but all that makes it very clear in my head as to what this individual is all about, and how this person will act or react. So yeah, a lot of planning goes into it.
And so many characters. When I look back, my favorite character was somehow, for some reason, Virat. And then I
Hmm.
had a soft corner for Harsh and Ramji also. How about you?
Hmm.
What took your heart away?
So, my Tipu is a character
Oh,
who's very close to my heart. That young little boy
yes.
who's alone in the world, and Tipu's origin goes back a very very long time. So,
Hmm.
this was way back. This was when I was in class 11, like millions of years ago.
Okay.
So I had gone to Netarhat. Netarhat is a small tourist forest touristy place in West Bengal, and I had gone there with my parents. And just before you enter Netarhat forest, on the outskirts of the forest, there was a tea stall, a rather big chai samosa kind of a stall,
Oh,
and we had reached that place sometime around 2:33, just after lunch, but not yet chai ka time, not
hmm.
yet chai time. So there, a young boy, all of 11 or 12 years old, or maybe 12, 13 years old, I don't remember his name. He was manning the shop, and his father must have either gone to the village market to pick up something, or was probably napping, and the boy was taking care of the shop at a lean time. And he was absolutely on his toes, in total command of everything, mentally calculating how much, who owes how much,
Oh,
directing men who are twice his age and size, ye karo, wo karo, do this, do that, with full confidence. And soon after my visit, I had written an article for a supplement in Statesman newspaper about my visit to Netarhat and this little boy. And he had stayed in my mind because he had kind of really impressed me by everything, thin, scrawny, bony fellow, one banyan and chota sa shorts. So when I was writing Until I Find You, I thought that Harsh should have a friend like Tipu, and that's how I created the character of Tipu. Acha, now the character of Ramji is someone that I met when I went to Mukteshwar in 2021. So
okay.
Mukteshwar, as you know, is a beautiful hill station in Uttarakhand,
So right.
and outside the guest house where we were staying, there was a chai ki dukan where there's a man. So, Ramji is a real guy.
Okay.
He's the owner of the tea shop, and he's called Ramji. But his
Okay.
actual name is not Ramji. His actual name is Mahadev something something. But couple of years ago, just like in the book, that Ramji had played the role of Lord Ram in the Navratri Ram Leela, and he played it so well that everyone began calling him Ramji. So nobody calls him by his real name, and he's called Ramji. So I decided to transplant Ramji from Uttarakhand to Banod, and so this is how my travels, my experiences find their way in my stories.
Yeah,
And of
because
course, Virat is, I mean, I really like the character of Virat for a reason that, Neeta, I'm very fond of reading, thrillers and watching thrillers on OTT. But there's one thing that I've noticed is that all the police officers in the OTT web series, whether it is international or Indian, they are super cop, and
Yeah.
they have a dark and a brooding mystery in their life. Either they are alcoholics, or they've been abused, or they have some dark cloud hanging over their head.
He
So
was
I
totally
decided
different.
that when I write a crime story, the
Yeah.
cop in my this thing would not be a man with a dark past. He
Yeah.
would be a happy-go-lucky, a
Yes.
useless fellow who has zero ambition,
Yeah.
likes to drink chai and munch on pakodis.
Yeah.
And I decided to make him a short guy. He's not a super cop. He's not a dashing tall fellow. He's a short guy with a name like Virat, which is an antithesis to his stature. And everyone calls him Chota Virat, and he feels awful about having a short height. So, so all these things come together to make my story.
So interesting because, as I just mentioned, Virat, somehow I felt very, very, I had a soft corner for him.
Huh.
So you're fond of traveling. So now we know the reason why you've been able to etch out different characters because your
Huh.
observations, your traveling,
Mm.
your travel to see Rajasthan gave you the story. And then
Yes.
Ramji again was part of one of your travels.
Yes.
How fantastic. How very fantastic. So how does it feel when, strangers come to you and talk to you about your book? And so maybe some important feedback about the book that you received and you were so happy for having written this book.
It is so gratifying, Neeta. I can't tell you how wonderful it feels when complete strangers, you know, they find me out on Instagram, on Facebook, and they write to me that, ma'am, we found your book and we read it and we loved it so much. It makes writing, and it makes all the trouble that we go through writing, getting published, and everything so worthwhile. It is so gratifying. In fact, I tell my friends, and they get upset when I tell them this, that compliments from complete strangers are more dear to me than my friends coming and telling me that they like my book, because I feel that my friends love me too much, and they are just being kind, that like, let's say nice things to Kanchana, and they say that, I mean, come on, you don't trust us with this. But I always feel that my friends love me a lot, and they're kind towards me and my book. But when a complete stranger comes and praises my book, I just feel okay now. Okay, I must have done something right. So, complete stranger won't come and appreciate my book. So, yeah, it feels wonderful.
Yeah. And what I've also noticed, also in acknowledgements that you mentioned about your friends, yeah, I've seen you. I mean, I've been on your Instagram and I've seen you building up this community of women writers, or all writers are your friends, and it's kind of a community.
Hmm.
So, how do you feel about that? Because I've seen, they endorse your book and they talk about you, you talk about them. It's like, I love this friendship that you have with these women writers and you're always endorsing each other. So how does it feel to build each other up, I would say, in this community?
So, one thing that I believe in, that it's very important to build a community around you. Like they say that it takes a village to raise a child. It
Right.
takes a village to write and to get the book out there. And
You mentioned
also,
that.
writing, Neeta, is a very, very solitary activity. It is not a group activity. Every writer sits alone in the corner of their room, in the corner of their house or a cafe, and writes alone. But, the entire creative process, whether it is writing or singing or acting or anything, any creative process is fraught with a lot of challenges. It has a lot of ups and downs. It has a lot of obstacles, and you have moments when you doubt yourself. You have moments when you don't know if you're headed in the right direction, especially with regards to writing. You feel blocked at times. You don't know whether what you're writing is making sense or not. You want to discuss a certain aspect of the story or the character with someone. And while all of us are fortunate enough to have good friends, good families, we have spouses, we have partners, we have siblings, etc. But unless and until they are a writer themselves, they cannot um, they cannot contribute or help you when you face a creative writing block, or the anxiety that you feel when you have submitted your book to a publisher, to an editor, and they are taking their own sweet time to revert back. So no matter how much your family, your best friend loves you, unless they are a writer themselves, they cannot understand how frustrating this feels. So it's very important to be part of a writing group where you can talk about this, discuss, and lift each other up. And also, I think, there is only so much one person can do on their own. And, you can achieve a lot more uh, together. United you stand.
You're so
And
right.
there is so much more information that can come to you if you operate as a group together. So, and it's always nice to help each other. There is and there is no sense of course there is competition, but there is healthy competition.
So
And we
right.
all feel happy when the other person gets ahead, because we know how difficult it is to kind of get a deal and to become a bestseller. Like, I was interviewing Nidhi Upadhyay, who's a thriller author based in Singapore. Her book has sold 50,000 copies. Now, I feel so my books haven't sold 50,000 copies. I'm nowhere near that number, and I don't feel I don't feel any jealousy for what she has done. I feel genuine happiness, that because I know how tough it is to write and to sell. So, then like another friend of mine, Damayanti, she's doing so well internationally. She has an international book agent, and her book is getting published abroad, and she has more than 5,000 reviews on good reviews on
Good
Goodreads.
reads.
And I feel genuinely happy for them, for her, that, someone like me, someone who's my friend, has been able to go and score abroad, which is so nice. So there is no, of course there is, as I said, there is competition, but there is healthy
Healthy
competition.
competition.
And I
So right.
think, people who kind of burn in jealousy and envy, I pity such people, because they live alone and they work alone, and they don't. And it's weird to be, it's always nice to work together.
Yes. Because that is what I noticed in your acknowledgements, and I thought I'll definitely pick it up with you. So
Hmm.
nice to have mentioned what you've mentioned just now. It is definitely a lesson for everyone. And I think one should really, and everyone has the space and everyone should grow together, mutually
Exactly.
motivate each other and happy about what each other is doing. Mentioned that you
So,
read a lot.
just to add one more thing, Neeta, I was telling someone the other day about this, is that, you know, I really believe that, मेरे मेरे हिस्से की रोशनी और मेरे हिस्से की बारिश मेरे पास ही आएगी. And if
Huh.
it doesn't come to me, then it's not meant for me. It's not mine.
So right.
What is meant for me will come to me, and what is meant for someone else will go to them. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. I totally agree, and I totally agree with your thoughts. You mentioned that you read a lot of crime, and do you think that was the reason why you got into crime writing? I mean, you work with a special kind of writing. So how did you like?
No, so as my friends often tease me, they say that, I have a dark side.
Okay.
They say that, Kanchana, I think you're a closet killer. No, nothing like that. Jokes apart. So it's just that, thrillers, and I think, it's a very basic preference for something. Like, say, some people like a particular cuisine, or some people like a particular, like, some people like hills, and some people like to go to the seaside. Some people like wildlife, some people like to go to forests. So in the same way, I think, preference in books or movies, it's just that some people like to read romances, some people like to read sci-fi. I like to read thrillers because I like the thrill. I like the palpitation which happens inside you when you're, going one chapter ahead, trying to guess who would be the killer, and who would, and to kind of, have a competition with the book. Yeah, and to try and guess that, am I right? Am I right in so it's just that I find thrillers captivating and intriguing, and that's all. And and it's very challenging. While it's very thrilling to read a thriller, it is very challenging to write a thriller,
Hmm.
because, as I explained earlier, that you have to cast the the web and to wrap it up all well. And this is not me saying that love stories are not challenging to write. I'm not making any such assumptions. I'm just talking about thrillers and crime stories. I find them quite a challenge. It's like creating a puzzle. So that's all.
And any of your favorite writers? I know everyone who
Oh, I
reads your
have
book,
loads. I
you will
have
be a
loads.
favorite writer of theirs, but you would like to recommend your some reading recommendations for.
Yeah, so Gillian Flynn and her dark thrillers are a huge favorite of mine. Then Mary Kubica, and then recently I've started reading Alice Feeney, and I'm just in love with her books. And so Alice Feeney is another one. Then Lisa Joel, I've enjoyed. I've read many of her books, but the ones that I've really enjoyed are The Family Upstairs, Then She Was Gone. Amazing. So yes, these would classify as my favorite thriller authors.
What a lovely conversation we've had. Any last words on your book that you would like to talk about? This is a book
Please
everyone
do,
must see.
please do buy the book. The book is available on Amazon and Flipkart, and I think it would be available at some of the shops. The reason why I'm not very sure, because the book was released in April, and since then the copies have all been sold from the major bookshops. So I don't know if you'll find it in the bookshops or not, but it's most certainly available on Amazon and Flipkart. So do buy my book and leave a word on Amazon, or write to me. I'm there on all social media handles: Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. I love to hear from the readers. So do buy books and read them, and do kind of leave a word or two telling the author about the book. That really helps.
So very right. I totally believe, and I feel that it's always better to write, and even better to buy books and also read books. And you must leave your comments on so that the authors are always very, very motivated by that. And thank you so much, Kanchana, for such a lovely conversation. It was such a pleasure to have you with us. And I really recommend everyone to read Kanchana's book, Until I Find You.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
So thank you. Thank you so much.